everyone. Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk. I want to say thanks for joining me today. Today's interview and guest is a little bit different than what I normally do, but I couldn't wait to share this story with you. Today I am interviewing Basma Hameed from Basma Hameed Clinic. Now Basma's story is really inspiring and interesting. When she was 2 years old, she was severely burned and injured in a kitchen accident. She had hot grease spilled on a portion of her face and was terribly burned. And she underwent, about 100 different surgeries, a terrible bullying she suffered from other children when she was growing up, and just had a traumatic experience. She did, however, decide to fix her insides and her outsides. And she decided to be better instead of bitter, went back and learned the art of cosmetic tattooing, and then actually went in, developed a procedure, and tattooed over her scars on her own face. She now has a business doing this. She has a clinic where she helps other individuals with their burns, other cosmetic reasons, and she's helping others. And her story is just tremendously inspiring, and I think you will enjoy it as well. So don't forget to go over to our website, www.successfulwomentalk.com. You'll get to learn more about stories like Basma's, and we will see you on the other side of the interview. Thanks. Hi everyone, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk. Excited to be here with you today. I have a special guest, Basma Hameed. Basma and I connected on Twitter. She has such an inspiring and inspirational story. I could not have her on the show. She's quite amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you. She is currently the founder and creator of Basma Hameed Clinic, where she does medical cosmetic tattooing. So a little bit different from our normal guests, but once you hear her story, hear what she's done and the business she's created around it, I don't think that you'll be more pleased with the conversation. So welcome, Basma.
Thank you, Sheila, for having me.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
Terrific. You are in Toronto, Canada?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so I want to start off with, normally the first question I ask is tell us a little bit about yourself, background, about how you got started in business. But what I want to do is start off with, we want to know about your business, etc., but let's learn a little bit about you, who you are, what happened to you, and how that got to where you are today.
Okay, so it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. I am a burn survivor. I was burnt when I was 2 years old in a kitchen accident, and I was basically, trying to prepare a meal for my parents and trying to surprise them, and accidentally the frying pan tipped over and spilled on top of me. And I don't remember much of the accident, but I do remember being rushed to the ER. And all that, I've had over 100 surgeries, like reconstructive surgeries. And the burn was to my face, 40% on my face. So, I went through a lot of years of surgeries and tried to improve it with the surgeries. But it reached a point where, at 16 years old, the plastic surgeon told me that, this is it. You kind of have to live with it and, just take your money and go on a vacation. So that's what he told me. And, I was really, at 16 years old, I've always been the type that you can't just say, this is it, and, kind of give up. That's the feeling that I was getting. So I wanted to find a way, for me to improve it and, since I've already done whatever they had told me to do, now it's my turn to see, what I can do for myself. So I did a little research, and at the time I had 3 hair transplants done to my left eyebrow, but none of them succeeded. And then I was doing a little research. I came across permanent makeup. So, I thought it was a great idea, for my eyebrow, to get my eyebrow done. So once I got my eyebrow done, then, kept thinking of different ways how I can still improve it. And then I thought of, using the same technique, but instead of putting in dark pigments into the skin, putting skin-colored pigments, tattooing it into the scar to kind of blend with the rest of the face. Because my burn was extremely red, and it was discolored, and the color was getting worse as the years went by. So, at that time, nobody had done it, and it seemed like a crazy idea. But I was really determined. Like, I wanted to find a way I was willing to do anything to improve it for myself. And, while I was doing that, at the same time, I had to psychologically, kind of get myself out of like this bubble where I used to only feel like I really felt sorry for myself, and I would like lock myself in the room, and it's just, I was really hard on myself because I thought people didn't deserve to see me. Why do they have to suffer looking at me? So after like going through that, after I mentally prepared myself, then I started working on the outside, how I can improve it. Then that's when the whole idea of the paramedical tattooing came to me, and I tried it on myself. So I worked on my own face, and at that point I had really nothing to lose. So I worked on my face, and I had done about 12 treatments, and it became like really successful.
Wow.
And a lot of people I started telling the story and sharing it with a lot of people and the more I shared the story, the more I started to hear similar stories, because I wasn't alone. So there was a lot of people like me. Not so much maybe the scar on the face, but definitely people had scars on the body, and they can relate to me. And they thought it was such an incredible idea and a solution. And even till this day, I tell everybody that this can be done, but really you have to accept your scar first, and you have to love yourself before you start to work, on the outside.
I love that. Okay, so that story to me is overly inspiring. So in case, I think some people are going to have a hard time understanding where we're coming from, because you look so beautiful, and they're not going to understand how devastating your scars really were. And with your permission, we'll link up some photos so that they can see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you were afraid somewhat to come out of your room. And I'm amazed by the fact that you had such courage. So I so applaud you for that. But also, you tattooed yourself. How challenging was that? And did you start like on a different part of your body, or did you truly just say, okay, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to do it?
Okay, it sounds crazy, I know, but I did go to school for it. I went to school for medical aesthetics, and I also went to school for permanent makeup, which is cosmetic tattooing. So once I did it for 3 years, and for 3 years, while I was learning and training, that's when I started working on my own face, because I thought, if I'm gonna do this, might as well do it on myself before I touch anybody. So that wasn't a fear of mine, and so I just sat in front of the mirror and I started just working on my face.
Now, did you go to school with the intent of knowing that you were going to do this, like the cosmetic tattoo, you were going to do this to yourself?
Initially, I just wanted to do just cosmetic tattooing. Eyebrows, eyeliner, and lips. That's it. And then slowly, when that idea came to me, then I said, okay, you know what? Maybe we have something here. So let's give it a try. And like I said, I really didn't have anything to lose. And tattooing is not a new procedure. It's not an invention, right? It's nothing that I've invented. But the whole idea is just, why not, do pigments that match the rest of your skin. I usually customize it to the color of your skin and then tattoo it into the scar. Because everybody heals differently. When you're scarring, everybody's scar is different. So some people, it turns a dark brown. Some people it turns red. So, so that's what happened. So just to kind of improve the discoloration of the scar, this is why this procedure is perfect for it.
Very, very interesting. I kind of shared this story with you before I started. I've not really ever shared this story before, but people that know me know the story about when I was, which I think is another reason why I just totally connected with you from the beginning, was when I was about 5, I lived in a really small town. There was no hospital. My mom or movie theater. My parents and my aunt and uncle were going to go to the next town to the movie theater. So my aunt was cooking some stew on the stove, and she asked me to run outside and get all the kids. So I ran out and got everybody. And when I came back in, she was going from the stove to the cabinet with the hot stew, and I ran underneath her, raised up too soon, and the hot stew poured down my back, down my neck. I have some really bad scarring. And before we started recording, I've sort of just lived with that, right? I forget about it because it was on my back and my neck, so I don't see it every day. And before we got started recording, I told you that I look at you and I go, wow. And sometimes for years I've told myself I'm very lucky. Yes, I have some scarring, but wow, if that had gone down my face versus my back, my whole life would have been different. As you said yours were. You were bullied by some kiddos. So I'm sure it impacted your life. Let's talk about that a bit.
Definitely. Like I said, a scar is a scar, and that's something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. If it's on the body, it's something that you can kind of conceal and hide, and no one will ever know. When it's on your face, you can't even learn to accept it. It's really hard because it's being brought up every single day. So it's really hard for you to forget about it because it's in your face and you wear it every day. It's on your face. So it's definitely a lot. It's really, really difficult. But you just have to find that inner strength, and you really have to push yourself to kind of get out there and do something about it, because it doesn't matter. No matter where it is on your body, you have to live with it, and you have to love yourself. And I truly believe that God doesn't give you something that you can't handle and you can't overcome, right? So that's something that I kept, I learned, and I taught myself, and I gave myself the strength to get up every day and move on with my life. And life became so much more easier. and I love my life now, and I enjoy it so much. And if people can't accept it, then that's their problem.
I love that.
It doesn't become my problem anymore, So you really, really have to look inside yourself and really accept it and love yourself. And like I said, once you accept it, reality is, honestly, people don't see it. It's when you can't accept it and you try to hide it, that's when it attracts, a person's attention. It's like, why is she looking down? And what's going on? What is she trying to hide? Which it grabs more attention, the try to hide it.
I agree. And I guess it's easy, I guess, to say just embrace it, but you've lived that. And so you can be so inspirational to young people, no matter what it is, whether it's a scar, obesity, whatever it is in your life that's making you not feel comfortable with who you are. You will never be able to connect with the world until you just embrace it.
No, absolutely. And this is what I tell everybody. You really, really, before you try to fix anything on the outside, work on your inside. And you really, really have to love yourself and accept yourself the way you are. Because these things come and go. We all go through different stages of your life, right? And some are good and some are bad, but how are you going to overcome it?
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this. So you've turned this, what to some people could have been a tragedy. You empowered yourself with that. You went and studied tattooing, cosmetic tattooing for 3 years. You've now started a business and you are changing people's lives. So let's talk a bit about that.
Okay. Well, it started off with camouflaging my scar, right? My burn. After that, it became, I started getting people who have alopecia, which have lost all their hair, eyebrow hair, and they need eyebrows. And then I started working with women with vitiligo or men with vitiligo, and they need to cover those patches where they're missing pigment in their skin. And then it just kept escalating. And then working with women who are cancer survivors and, have gone through mastectomy and, within the process afterwards, they need, areola reconstruction. So now I work with cancer survivors. So it's come a long way now. We can do so much with this, this procedure. And you can, it's been so rewarding just to give back and help people out. And, it's like I said, it's something small, but it really makes a difference.
You've made a huge difference in your life, and you make a huge difference in other people's lives as well. Now, are there other people now getting into this as well? So are more people doing like covering up scars and stuff?
To do this as a business?
Yes.
Oh, yes, it has grown so much, and I'm happy for that. If it's done correct, I mean, my goal is to have this offered in every single city. Because, like I said, everybody, if it's not you, you know somebody that's going through something similar to this. So it's not something abnormal. Everybody's going through some sort of a burn or a scar, or it could be anything, and they really need this procedure. So this is kind of like, I feel like it's a need. It's not really a want. So definitely.
Yeah, I watched a video of you, and you were doing a lady that had a birthmark all over her face. And even after just the first treatment, it was amazing. Not only the difference in her scarring, but the difference of the look on her face and in her eyes. She seemed like a totally different person.
Well, I think you're talking about, she has port wine stain. Okay, it's a type of birthmark on 40% of her face. And she was really bullied. You know, she stopped going to school at the age of 10 years old because the kids have, you know, they nailed her to the floor and they tried to erase the birthmark off her face. Mm. So she never wanted to leave the house ever since then. And she's, you know, she's gone through her life where, you know, she changed dramatically. She was so happy with the result. She couldn't believe. She would look at herself in the mirror and say, is this really me? You know, which brings me to tears, and we both cried, you know, because it's something, like I said, it took about 40 minutes to do, but it took about 20 years. It took off 20 years from her life of pain and tears and all that traumatic stress that she's had to go through. But definitely now she's a brand new person and extremely happy.
I love that story. And, you know, and it is unfortunate. We live in a terrible society from time to time, and kids are horrible bullies, and that's a whole different show that we could get into. And but making a difference in her life. But let's talk about kids. So can this be done on kids? Because, you know, it's a little bit scary when you group it with the word tattooing, because it, you know, negative connotation with that from time to time. But so can it be done on children?
I have worked on children. I've worked on a 7-year-old who had alopecia, and he needed it. And he needed, because the thing is, this is something, again, it's not really permanent. So you are required to get a touch-up every 3 to 5 years, okay? So if, you know, as the years go by, you don't want it, then you just stop getting it touched up, right? So it's something that you kind of have to touch it up if you still want it there, right? So if I was offered this, you know, at a young age, I would have loved it, because it would have saved me a lot of years, a lot of pain. So definitely, I mean, if it's, you know, I offer it, if the parents are okay with it and the child really wants it, then I would do it.
Very interesting. I love it. I think it's such a mission, such a positive mission in changing people's lives dramatically. So now you're running a full business. So how difficult was it to start a business? So what challenges did you see just from the business side of things? And how is business going in general?
The business has been great. And like, I've been doing this now for 9 years. So it's not a new business. But the story just blew up all of a sudden because, you know, it started getting a really positive response. And it took me a while to kind of get the medical, you know, side, like the medical, you know, the doctors and the dermatologists kind of, you know, approve of it. But slowly they start seeing a lot of cases that I've done, and they've all been successful. So now 60% of my referrals come from plastic surgeons. So it really, I have a lot of support. You know, I work with a lot of plastic surgeons now. So it's been really great. And like I said, it's something really positive, and we're doing it to improve, you know, and all the cases have been successful.
Wow, I love that. So very inspiring. Like you said, 9 years. And I mean, how can this story not be out there? I mean, it's an amazing, amazing story. Such a gift, and you know what you're giving back to society, and the changes you're making in people's lives.
Thank you.
And your own.
Yes, thank you. I always said, if I can, if I heal myself, I have to give back. And I've been so grateful for everything. Just overcoming this has been a blessing. And now, I do go to conferences for burn survivors, and and I sit there and I try to talk to everybody and help them out and tell them that, you can overcome this. It's not the end of the world, believe me. And things do get better, and life becomes more beautiful once you've accepted it.
Wonderfully said. I totally agree. Do you do any type of public speaking or anything like that?
I haven't gotten to that yet, but eventually.
I can so see you. I mean, even if you're not dealing with a burn victim, which would be so beneficial if you were, but just speaking to kids alone, teenagers, because they think the tiniest thing is terrible, nothing compared to what you've gone through. And I know it's all relative, but you fixed yourself and you're making a change and you decide to become better instead of bitter. And I think that's such a great choice.
Thank you. That's what I tell everybody, like anybody that comes in, even to the office or anybody that I meet on the street. I get sometimes, people, once I tell them the story, they say, they don't believe it. They say, no, you don't have a scar. And I say, no, really? And then I would have to show the pictures to kind of prove it. But yeah, because I've learned to accept it so much to the point where anybody that comes to me, they don't feel the energy. They don't feel like negative energy or sadness or pain or hurt, because I'm always smiling and I'm always positive. So they think, oh no, there's nothing wrong with her. There can't be. But really, it took some years. It took some years for me to be where I am today. So it was a process, but I just never gave up. I wasn't going to give up.
Absolutely. Listen, I think we connected on Twitter. So are you using social media at all with your business to get your story out?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I was tweeting, right? And CNN came across the tweet, and then they did the interview now. We did an interview, and it should be airing within 2 weeks, within the next 2 weeks. So yes, the social media is really, really getting the story out. So it's really great.
Well, I don't have any connections to Oprah or Ellen, but if I did, I would send your story directly to them, because it's...
Thank you.
I mean, we see a lot of things out there. We hear a lot of bad things on the news. Why don't we report some good things? I mean, what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you. That's what I keep saying. Honestly, all I'm saying is that we need more positive role models on TV, right? Because the media keeps pushing out unrealistic things.
Absolutely.
Nobody can live up to them, right? It's impossible. But I keep trying my best to get it out there, and even like on doing interviews with the news, to constantly keep putting the story out there to show that we are normal. Yeah, we have a scar, but we're all the same. And you need to be putting us more on TV, right? Because this is something that a lot of people can relate to.
And it's real. This is real life.
Exactly.
I mean, I almost feel sometimes that we set young women, especially women, up for failure, because we put the most beautiful women on TV, that they're the thinnest women of all that could ever be. They may eat a peanut a day. I don't know. But, it's terrible. That's not real life. You can't compete with that.
No, you really can't. And that's why I keep telling everybody, I meet women for permanent makeup every single day, and they're the most beautiful. No scars and nothing. But deep down inside, they feel that they're not perfect. Again, because the media puts out a certain image where you can't meet it. It's impossible to meet that.
Right.
So I always tell them, you can spend hundreds of dollars on your outside, but if you can't accept yourself and love yourself on the inside, none of that will matter. And that's the truth.
It is the truth. It is, and keep preaching it. I agree. It is the total truth.
Yes.
Well, listen, if someone wanted to connect with you, where would you like to send them?
They can go over to my website, www.basmahameed.com, and it has all my information on there.
Perfect, and we will link that up in the show notes as well. I cannot thank you enough for being on the show, and I don't think I've been more inspired by anyone. I was so proud of what you do. So proud of you just embracing who you are and showing the world. And I will do my best to share your story as much as I can.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Shelia.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay,
You too.
bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, that's our show, and thanks again for tuning in. Hey, I have a huge favor. I'd like for you to join us over at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Join our email list, and on that list, you'll be a VIP. You'll be receiving all of our newest updates, newest interviews, our newsletter, and any tips and tricks we have for organizing your business and getting raving fans and customers that actually just sing your praises. So again, thanks again for tuning in. Check us out next week for another episode of SuccessfulWomenTalk.com. Thanks, guys.